Good afternoon, everyone. It's fantastic to see such a huge group in the Capitol, where we belong, for such an important occasion like this. Thank you for having me. I am Montana Attorney General Austion Knudsen. I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank the staff for the March for Life for putting this event on. Again, such an important event. Folks, abortion is a national tragedy, and unfortunately, it's a Montana tragedy. So thank you all for your dedication to saving the lives of innocent, unborn children. Recently, we've had some wins at the national level. You've heard some talk about that today. Last June, the U.S. Supreme Court returned the issue of abortion to the states where it belongs via the Dobbs decision. That was a huge decision for us. We hope to see similar action from our state Supreme Court in some ongoing litigation that I'm going to discuss here in just a minute. There's more good news on the federal level. As you heard, the representatives for our two congressmen and for our Senator Daines, the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act passed the U.S. House of Representatives earlier this week. We hope to see that bill move through the process, get through the Senate, and reach the President's desk. And unfortunately, here in Montana, we haven't been so lucky. Abortionists seem to have judges here in Montana in their pocket. I'm going to give you some examples. At the preliminary injunction stage of one of the cases that my office is defending, the district court judge in Yellowstone County adopted all of Planned Parenthood's arguments, rejected ours, adopted Planned Parenthood statements from experts that said fetuses don't feel any pain at 20 weeks, and that abortion is no riskier than popping an Advil. We know these statements are not only radical, they are demonstrably and scientifically false, outrageous. I and my office are going to keep fighting this fight. We've got a number of these cases moving through litigation. I want to give you a quick update on what's going on. In 2021, obviously the last legislative session, the Montana legislature, my former colleagues here in the House and the Senate, passed some great pro-life legislation, got through the process, got to our fantastic governor's desk where he signed them all into law. As expected, the day before those bills were set to take effect, now that's important, the day before they were set to go into effect, not the day the governor signed them and they became law, but the day they were set to go into effect, months later, Planned Parenthood, as expected, filed suit in front of a liberal judge and sought injunctions on all those laws, and they were given them. So what did these bills do? They were easy and they were quite common sense. One said that we want to make sure that women don't undergo medically risky late-term abortions in the 6th month of pregnancy or beyond. That was the first one. Second one, make sure that women are not prescribed dangerous chemical abortion drugs without sufficient medical guardrails. Simple enough. And the third one, make sure that women are offered the opportunity to see an ultrasound or hear the heartbeat of their child before they undergo an abortion. Common sense legislation that flew through these chambers and was signed by the governor. These laws have all been preliminarily enjoined from going into effect while the case is being litigated. My office is defending these laws, as is our duty. We're in the middle of this. We're in the middle of the discovery process in those cases right now. We've not yet gone to trial, and we're working with some absolutely phenomenal experts who've come in to help us, and they're going to help us demonstrate why these laws are so important to protecting the health and safety of women considering abortion. The trial is scheduled for this fall. Stay tuned. We've got our top hands working on this, and this is a top priority for my administration. I also want to talk about the case that the governor brought up. This is an important one. Nearly a decade ago, the voters of Montana passed a voter referendum. And as you heard, it passed overwhelmingly. And this was another common sense piece of legislation that the citizens of Montana passed. It said that if a minor child wanted to have an abortion, they had to have the consent of their parent. Folks, my kids can't get an aspirin from the school nurse without my say-so. But the law in Montana as it stands right now, my daughter can go get an abortion without me ever knowing about it. That's outrageous. And the voters of Montana agreed. The voters of Montana agreed overwhelmingly, as I said, nearly a decade ago. As expected, that law passed. But also as expected, what happened? Planned Parenthood challenged it. They got an injunction and a temporary restraining order. There's one very important word that I just said there. Temporary. It was a temporary restraining order. The purpose of a temporary restraining order is to temporarily maintain the status quo until we can have an emergency hearing to see what needs to happen. That hearing has still never taken place. We have been sitting on a temporary restraining order for nearly a decade in that case. Absolutely shameful.